as well. First of all, thank you and welcome to the Shifting Gears informational meeting. My name is Derek Knuth. I'm the director of our Offender Services Program for Berrien, Cass Van Buren, Michigan Works in the Tri-County area. We have two formally funded programs where we're serving entire Region 8, which is a reason why this project was designed in that fashion. This is Shifting Gears project informational session. The agenda was sent out in the meeting invite earlier. Just quickly, the goal and intent of this meeting, we do realize that information was sent out from either a business contact or a partner organization that's a part of this project, giving you information and then asking to participate. And there was just some confusion on what that looked like. And so we wanted to put around an informational session to give you context behind the project design, what it looks like to participate, what it means for you to contribute or how you can contribute, explain the value of you participating, as well as the time commitment. The key project partners in this, Michigan Works, Berrien, Cass Van Buren is the fiduciary of the program, and there's multiple divisions within Berrien, Cass Van Buren that are participating on the project. Manufacturing Growth Alliance, and then the Michigan Works Southwest operating in Branch, Calhoun, Kalamazoo, and St. Joe counties. So Elizabeth, if you could introduce yourself first, your name, title, and then your role within the project.
Sure. Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. I am Elizabeth Bernhard. I am the Executive Director of the Manufacturing Growth Alliance, or MGA. We are a statewide nonprofit that's dedicated to the unique needs of Michigan small to mid-sized manufacturers, and we are a subsidiary of Connexus Group.
Thank you. Ashley Loviano, if you would like to go next.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ashley Iovino. I'm the Director of Business Solutions with Michigan Works Southwest.
And Lynn or Lynette Page.
We can go with Lynn. That's good. Lynn Page, Business Service Representative with Michigan Works Southwest.
Thank you. Mark O'Reilly from the Business Services team from Berrien, Cass Van Buren.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the call.
And Carrie Portis from the Offender Success Program with Michigan Works.
Hello, Carrie Portis, Community Coordinator for Offender Success.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so the this project is funded through Michigan Justice Fund, which is a foundation that's located within the Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan. In October of 2022, we were working with the Michigan Justice Fund on some innovative reentry projects and where there's gaps within the current community, current landscape within the entire state of Michigan. And where we saw a lot of area for need is training needs for subset populations of reentry populations where there's not currently funded. The overall goal of this entire project is to develop a foundational manufacturing credential in collaboration and feedback from employers in partnership with training providers down the road. There were two different types of projects that we could have applied for, a 12-month planning grant or a 2-year implementation grant. The plan for this is one, to go after a planning grant, in which we'll discuss a little later, what that looks like for another 2-year phase of implementation, utilizing the training that we actually put together. So within the 12-month planning phase, the Shifting Gears team is looking to collect direct feedback from manufacturing companies through partnership with MGA, both Michigan Works Business Solution teams, on skill sets needed for a foundational industry recognized credential. The project is intended to serve 7 counties within Region 8. Again, we are positioned extremely well as we do provide those 2 formally funded reentry programs where we have multiple job seekers that are needing training and sustainable employment. This also gives us a unique opportunity to have success or create the biggest impact from a regional collaborative approach to potentially move it into other areas throughout the entire state. Traditionally, this funding has been created, or the training will be created and the funds to be used to target justice-involved Michiganders. Now, while that will be a focus of this funding specifically, Elizabeth and I have talked about making sure that all of our employers and business partners understand that it won't be just available to those that have been Michigan justice involved. The funding specifically will be used to assist those individuals, but it will be open to the general public or any individuals that you would like to hire or feel it would be a value of for those individuals to go through the training as well. Again, an overarching theme and or intent of this specific funding stream is one, to fill the gap with employers that they have, and then also increase economic mobility of justice involved Michiganders, giving them a transferable skill and giving them mobility within the workforce and the industry. And Elizabeth, I will kick it over to you for a couple slides.
All right, thank you, Deke. So I really want to just kind of level set with where we find ourselves today, because if you are a manufacturer, you are all too familiar with what's happening in our region and in our state and really nationally when it comes to talent. But the challenges that we are facing in Southwest Michigan, in some ways, they are greater than those at the state level, and in some ways greater than what we're experiencing nationally. So if you find yourselves unable to find talent, or you find yourselves poaching talent from your competitors, you're not alone in that. Our region is really faced with challenges when it comes to finding talent. And that's why MGA was so excited to partner with the two Michigan Works of Southwest Michigan, both Berrien Cass Van Buren and Southwest Michigan, because this provides a new potential talent pool. So just some data, just a level set here. So as of March of 2023, 28.4% of the region's manufacturing workforce was 55 years or older and facing retirement. So our manufacturers, you hear today, are looking at an aging workforce with 28% facing retirement in the near future. At the same time, the manufacturing demand for talent in our region, we just lost the slide. We're seeing Slack. Thank you. There we go. So the demand for talent is 40% higher than what we see at the national level when it comes to the manufacturing demand for talent. Now, at the same time, so the demand is up for talent. The workforce is aging and they're getting closer to retirement, but also the labor force participation rate is declining. And from January of 2020 until March of 2023, it shrunk by 2%. And right now, there is an estimated 0.8 unemployed workers per open jobs. So there are less workers available for the jobs that are here. So what that means is that as a collaborative, we have to do something different if we are going to help you as manufacturers fill your talent shortages. Next slide, Deke. So this particular project is really reorganized because of the Michigan Justice Fund grant that was awarded to Michigan Works of Berrien Cass Van Buren. And this project will serve manufacturers in Southwest Michigan, including Berrien, Cass, Van Buren, Kalamazoo, Calhoun, Branch, and St. Joseph counties. And so as a result of our efforts at the end of this year-long period, what Deke referred to as the planning grant, we are interested in working with you as manufacturers to align on what are your greatest talent challenges that you as an industry are facing, and what are the skills and the credentials and the competencies that you need in the workforce that could form the basis of a demand-driven, customized training program. And so we don't know what this will look like. That's why we need you here at the table. We need your information about, are you in need of CNC operators? Are you in need of CNC programmers? Are you in need of production talent? Or are you in need of controls engineers? So we don't know until we hear from you. And so we're going to be working with you as employers to really understand what are the region's most in-demand collective needs. We'll really synthesize that and then really drill down into what are the skills that are needed that we could then create a customized program to meet those needs of the region. And once we have those needs really clearly understood, that's when we'll bring in the training programs, training partners like community colleges, the Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center, and other training providers who would be available to offer these programs for you to increase your potential talent pool. So what we are really looking for in this one-year planning grant is for you in the month of June to agree to respond to a survey that we will release, where we will understand what are your talent needs, what are the skills that you have that are most in common, what are the credentials that you typically look for when you hire talent, and what are the competencies. We'll also ask that you participate in task force meetings between June and November, and these meetings are expected to be virtual and to take no longer than 1 hour of your time per month. And then we also ask that you be open to skills-based hiring. So what does skills-based hiring mean? You know, a lot of times when we put job descriptions together, we say, oh, they need a bachelor's degree or they need an associate's degree. Well, let's actually step outside of traditional hiring requirements and really drill down deep into what those skills are that could be modularized and taught at the very foundational level, so that we can then offer training programs in the region so that we can increase the talent in the region. And in this particular grant, we will use this intelligence for many reasons, including pursuing funding later in the next cycle of the grant cycle to receive training dollars to fund training dollars for a justice-involved population. All right, Dick, back to you. And you're still on mute, my friend.
There we go. All right, we had put together a couple questions which we would like you to fill in the chat function if you could. So what positions do you consistently have open? What are the top 3 skills you wish had, or you wish every employee had? How many of you are currently employing a justice-involved population? And we'll give you a few minutes to answer those few questions in the chat.
I think when everyone's typing their answers in, maybe it would be good to give a little bit of context about the trip that we took to Florida and the type of training that we saw when we went down there. Another program that had been implemented in another part of the country, and they had a entry-level credential that was developed through the Manufacturing Skills Council, which is a national organization. And they had created what they call the Certified Production Technician credential. And that came with four components. There was a focus on safety. There was a focus on quality practices and measurement, a focus on manufacturing process and production, and also a focus on maintenance awareness, sorry, I should say. And it was really designed as a 40-hour training program with those 4 modules. And each of the modules had a micro credential that came with it, and in order to say that this person had taken some training to go through this, had learned what was required from the industry, and had gotten that micro credential, was then built up into what they called the Certified Production Technician credential. And that was really preparing somebody for success to go and work in, it was just outside Orlando, for a bunch of manufacturers in that kind of region. And so that's what they found was beneficial for their community and the type of manufacturing that was going on down there. And so we're looking at something similar for this part of the country, and to figure out what really is it that our industry needs in Southwest Michigan.
Thank you, Mark. That's extremely valuable. And as you see a lot of the responses coming in, it's a lot of the other things that Mark, you and I had been talking about earlier, where there is a certain competency base and skill set needed, but it is also a lot of those, how can we train on the soft skills and just being a good employee as well. And so I think we're going to take a little bit of a look at that as well, where it's not going to be extremely simply just competence based, but really tailored to what you're seeing you're lacking within some of these positions that you would like to see.
And Dee, could you please define justice involved, and in especially in relationship to this particular grant?
That's a very, very good question, because it's more money than it's always clear. And our 2 federal our 2 funded programs serve very, very specific reentry populations. And this program is intentionally being designed to be as open when it comes to eligibility as possible, where it's not going to specifically be someone that is on parole, on probation, is on, has committed a misdemeanor. anyone that's gone through the court system that has gone through any facility at any time would be eligible for the actual funding that would come through as support within the training. So if I spent a day in a county jail, if I had to do programming at a residential reentry center like KPEP, if I've had any residential justice involved lodging within my lifetime, I would be eligible to be supported by this funding for the training. And like Elizabeth, you and I had discussed yesterday, I think we're going to look at how can we make it available for any new hire within an organization if the employer thinks that they would be a good fit, and look at other public funding or other funding streams available to support so we can have tandem cohorts. So we don't want to limit it to just those that have been justice involved. This project will be tailored to that. I think that there's a broader need that we could also be addressing while doing both. But to your point, justice involved by definition within this project is anyone that has been lodged within a facility, and that could be anything from a county jail to a youth detention center, to a residential reentry center that provides services to people on paper as well. So does that help, Elizabeth?
It does. Thank you.
Yeah, so in that case, out of 15 employees, I think we have 13 justice involved. And that's also where we're trying to get to, is that I think that there's that the justice involved population is a much broader scope than a lot of the other reentry programming or funding that's currently available. And that's what Michigan Justice Fund is really hinting at, is there's gaps, and how can we fill this gap? And we think that it's a really good opportunity for collaboration, not just those providing reentry programming, but how are we filling a talent gap with our local employer partners as well.
And really great feedback coming in through the chat. So really thank you for all your comments. We'll be making sure as we build our survey, we will be taking the feedback that you entered to help us drive the questions that we ask based on your commentary today.
Yeah, this is really good feedback. Thank you very much. Okay, so project timeline and next steps. Again, I think we're in a very fortunate position to have gone after the planning, because it really gives us the planning grant, because it really gives us the time to work with our project team, all of the employers, and down the road training providers to design what we want to implement in the future. It's not a guarantee, but you have to make some type of assumption that they wouldn't give you a planning award if they didn't like the project concept. So if we take care of what we need to within these next several months, we will be going after an implementation application later in the summer, early fall, to then implement a program for the next 2 years. The training that we create and the process and operations that we create to get someone in the training, to get them to you, would be implemented for 2 years following this planning project. So after next steps, again, we're going to be soliciting feedback, as Elizabeth had alluded to, from business partners through a skill set survey. We will be developing that internally, looking at current training grants and training funds and skill sets that we already have at our disposal that have been indicated to us by our partners that they currently already need, along with the feedback that you're providing here today. This group will send out more notification on when we will convene and discuss the survey results. And then in the next few months, once we have those skill sets designed, the foundational training and competencies put together, we'll start recruiting some potential training providers to fit the identified needs from our employer partners.
Steve, before we go to the next slide, I'd like to respond to some comments in the chat. So it looks like many of you have current employees who are justice involved, or you have had employees who are justice involved. And it looks like some of you have had mixed success with justice involved individuals. And there's one comment that says, you do have employees who are justice involved, you just haven't had any luck hiring them through the existing programs in the state. These individuals have to come through other channels, not those specific programs. So one of the things that I really want to make sure that we make really clear is that any program that we work to offer you based on the feedback that we receive from you, there's no guarantee to the participants that they will be hired by any of the employers assembled at the table, nor do you have to guarantee that you will hire individuals in the training program. But we really are there to offer them to you as potential talent And especially with a justice involved individual population, by our supporting the development of a program, we actually mitigate the risk a little bit for you as employers, because to graduate the program, they have to show up on time. They have to demonstrate soft skills. They have to demonstrate and learn employability skills. And by the time they graduate the program, they have been somewhat vetted. And so again, there's a reduction of risk that happens by partnering with these kinds of programs. And hopefully that would be a viable talent pool for you. And as Deke indicated, however, the programs that we put together would not just be for justice involved in populations. So I'm curious to see, how that's landing on you as manufacturers, and what that, what you think so far about this project. Does anybody want to jump in there? You can go off mute if you'd like.
This is Kasha with Lions Industries, and I like the idea of this project in particular because previously, and I've worked with Derek and Mark on doing some direct hires that are, coming right out of the system, and it is very difficult to gauge where they're at because either they haven't been in the workforce for so long and there's so many new things for them to learn. So to know that they're going to actually be going through a training with step-by-step materials of what is expected, I think that's fantastic.
Great, Kasha, thank you very much.
This is Annette with Quality Assured Plastics. We have had good success with the people that we have hired through justice involved programs. It's not always the longest term, but we would say it's been a good success. I am interested in somebody that would know the soft skills better and be able to be at work on time every day.
Absolutely. Great, Annette. Thank you very much.
So oh, sorry, Brett was going to talk there. Sorry, Brett.
Actually, this isn't Brett. This is Cindy LeGros with Max 3. Is there a way that if we have offenders go through this program, can it be tied to their probation or whatever? Because when an employer goes through the grueling task of training someone, and then in week 4, they don't show up for their job for whatever reason, they have a hangnail or a headache, that then they would be in violation of their probation or something. There needs to be some kind of accountability for folks that come through the program, in my opinion.
Completely understand. I'd like to take that. For one clarification, and we've even had to remind ourselves of this throughout this entire writing the project, putting the project together, is that this won't be intended for the hardest to serve reentry individuals. And I get stuck in that all the time because those are our formal programs we've had for so long. It could be someone who spent a day in jail 5 years ago and needs upskilling. It could be someone, it doesn't have to be someone that's on paper. But you also, if we are looking for our current populations that we have to pull from, you are 110% correct. And where we need to have a centralized focus is having probation and or parole or the community supervision understand that this is going to be a funded project and they have the stick when it comes to accountability. And so there will have to be an extreme rigorous vetting process for any of those individuals that will be going through that, with all of the supportive services from case management. But just to be clear for the entire group too, we're not speaking specific to anyone that is on probation or is on parole. Now they'll be eligible for the training. But also anyone that has spent a day in jail, has gone through the justice system at some point in their life, will be eligible to be funded through whatever training that we do put together.
And that follows on from, I think, the comment that Caitlin made in the chat, where she mentioned that they have hired individuals, but they haven't had any luck through programming. A lot of the times in the world that we work, the programs are designed for the hardest to serve, the ones that have, the most difficult. This particular program, the reason why it's so exciting is actually because it's such a broad scope and it will be open up to so many people. And so, again, hopefully that will help to increase the quality of candidates that we're going to see go through the program.
Brett, let's go to you.
Yeah, so I just want to say, at Omega here, we hire a lot of people with these problems because it's just, we're one of the few places that will take felons. So, when I say we're almost all felons here, we pretty much are. And what we have found, quite frankly, is that they're great workers. If you treat them properly, they're probably the most loyal workers. We've had really good success with it. So my question for you guys is, would this be applicable to people who are already on the job, or is
Yes.
it for new hires only?
Yes, sorry to cut you off, but that is 100% the intent. And what Mark was explaining earlier, when we went down south to visit kind of a project that was designed, and we took the idea from one of the most awesome manufacturing employers, most well put together employers when it came to his staff and his training. And that's what he used it for. He would almost hire people in and make it a requirement that you're going to go through this training on your own time while you're also going through training while you're at work and you're working. And I think what it does is it shows a really good commitment, but then it gives incumbent staff, the upskill that they need. So the intent is, if incumbent workers are absolutely going to be eligible. Because again, and I think it also goes back to the intent of the funding, is that it's for the increased mobility. Now, obviously you don't want them to leave, but it's the economic mobility piece of, we want them to be having a sustainable career, not just a normal wage paying job.
So, and I also would encourage, as we're going through the survey, right? So there's the technical skills, there's the behavioral skills, like some people have already touched on, but there's also the foundational skills, right? So Mike Jones and myself had a good conversation about this last Friday about things like 5S as an example, right? Or error proofing as an example, blueprint reading. Those are very often found in many different types of manufacturing jobs. They can apply across the whole subsectors. So even those types of skills, are they things that would make you consider a candidate more if they had those coming in the door and you weren't having to train that from the ground up? So really any kind of any training that's not, that's not technical, we also encourage you to share that information as well.
Are there any other questions or comments so far?
Feedback has been fantastic already.
This is Caitlin with Marcellus Metalcasters. I just wanted to mention one of the things that I really see as a barrier, and I think you guys are going to cover this in the program, but just to emphasize the value of it, is the ability to interview well and to come in with a good presence. We don't expect people to show up in suits or a button-down shirt or anything. I mean, we're manufacturing, right? But there's a lot of times somebody will come in and immediately tell me this lengthy backstory and the cop was wrong and this happened. And it's like, that's not a good way to present yourself in an interview. So that is one of the things that, everything else aside, they could be the best candidate in the world, but if they don't seem like a good candidate when they walk in the door, it makes it hard for us to see past that. So definitely, talk about soft skills, but even just basic job application skills, get your resume right, get that interview skill correct.
And this is why that's great feedback as well, because again, not only are we looking to develop this training curriculum with all of this feedback, but we do have to design the implementation phase and apply for that. And what goes along with that is how are we having a staff member, a case manager, walk them through the entire process of, hey, I'm an incumbent worker. They want me to go through this training. They handle the enrollment and the paperwork and go through that training. Hey, I'm not employed. I may be a harder to serve individual or have more needs when it comes to that. What skills and soft skills, job readiness skills need to be developed even at that interview point. And so yes, we will be developing this training alongside you all, but then also any feedback provided with additional wraparound services from a case management standpoint, we're open to as well, because that will have to go into the actual programmatic design.
One thing that I think we've had several people here. We work closely with the probation office in Papa, but it's not work skills that get in their way, it's life skills. And I can't come to work because I'm just too stressed because my dog ran away, or or it's life skills that get in their way more than job skills.
And the other good point is sometimes it's their conditions of their supervision. Hey, I have too many appointments and I can't fit in a
Exactly.
full work schedule. And again, I think it's a lot of coaching on our end to do for their officer or their agent to say, you know, at what point in time can we figure some of this out, and for you to be flexible with their check-in schedule as well.
And this is why your feedback is essential. And then Renee, I saw you nodding in hearty endorsement of Annette's comment that it's the essential soft and employability skills that you need the most. And so through all of the feedback that we receive from you, we might decide that 60% of the training is those life skills and the rest is technical skills, maybe CNC or production technician. We'll find out together.
One of the things is the fact that it's not only people that are coming out of the justice system.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
employees in general, all the way across. And I know you've heard it all, but part of the reason I hadn't piped in is I'm just sitting here nodding with what everybody is saying. And it sounds like it's a pandemic is what it sounds like.
Yeah, you know, and your feedback reminds me of something that happened when I was at Kalamazoo Valley Community College and I was leading their non-credit workforce training area. And the Kalamazoo Promise came to me and they said, Elizabeth, can you help us train seniors at Western who are about to graduate, but they don't have the life skills that they need for employability? And these are not necessarily individuals with barriers. They're just needed life skills. And so, and I think that it's something that I've been hearing for years and years from employers, that it's the hardest to hire and it's the hardest to train. And so your feedback will certainly be taken into consideration with any program that we recommend.
All kidding aside, they need to bring back shop and home ec to schools.
Hear, hear.
It taught all that stuff. Balancing, well, we don't do checkbooks now, but balancing a checkbook and those kind of things. You know, how to deal with your money.
Yes.
I digress. I'm going silent again.
Yeah, and I just chime into Renee's point. You know, so often people are like, you know, oh, well, don't make a bachelor's degree the reason you don't hire somebody. But honestly, we don't even require a GED or a high school diploma. We can teach people all of the technical stuff as long as they're a good candidate when they come in the door. And that means being good in an interview, but it also means actually showing up for, you know, more than an hour or two a day. So yeah, you know, I know that a big part of this is looking at what the different, you know, technical skills would be too, but like, I can teach somebody how to read a tape measure. I can teach somebody how to add, you know, those things we can do. It'd be great if we didn't have to, but more than anything, we just need people who are reliable and will actually show up, because otherwise it's not worth the investment in them. You know, they're gonna be here and learn something, and then I've wasted my time if they can't come back.
Absolutely. Thanks again for all the feedback. Again, we're taking all this into consideration. The survey that we do put out will, you know, all of this will be taken into account when those questions are put together and sent to you. And I know Mark, I mean, even from the get-go here, he said, what I'm hearing is a lot of what you all are telling us now, not just the competency-based skill sets and those things within a training, but also the life skills, the soft skills. So more questions while we still have you. Comments. Okay, well, thank you very much. I know there was a question in chat about also providing the slide deck that can easily be done for the whole group. This is recorded. We will send it out to everyone that had responded. We did have 28 people that were not on the key project team that did respond to this invite. So we know schedules and stuff comes up, but we want to make sure that they get all of this information as well. Elizabeth, correct me if I'm wrong, but there will also be a transcript, right? Or can we save the chat?
Yes, so we will share the recording for this, and yes, we'll be saving the chat as well.
Awesome. Within the slides, you have my information and Elizabeth's information. I'm not, you know, Elizabeth being the king dog, she has her own website. So that's why I don't have a website down there. I'm just kidding.
Love
But again, thank you all for your time so much. We really appreciate it. Your feedback's been invaluable, and don't hesitate again, for those that were reached out by your contact, don't hesitate to reach out to your individual, whether that's the Michigan Works Southwest team, business team, the Barry and Cass Van Buren business team, myself or Elizabeth, if you have anything intermittently that we can help you with, assist, any feedback, just feel free to shoot it our way.